So we're at the stage now with the Banshee BYPE where we can start thinking about attaching the top wing. And to do that, we are going to build the strut work and the connector rods for the ailerons as well. In your Banshee BYPE kit, you should have the extra parts here for exactly that. And so what we're going to do is start the process by putting our cabane strut together, P25. So there's lots of intricate folding to do on this particular part. Let's just release it from the sheet. Now, if you remember, when we were putting the top part of the fuselage on, we created some holes here and here, here and here, going through to that back plate on the underside of here. Yeah, there we go. Just making sure it all went through, otherwise we'd be struggling. So there we go. Let's move that to one side for now. So here's our little cabane strut part, P25, and we've got some scores on there. I'm just going to check how well those scores fold. Okay, they're pretty stiff. So what I'm going to do is loosen the scores up by just running a knife down each of them. I'm not pressing hard, I don't want to cut all the way through. I just want to make it easier to fold them. There we go. So that's a lot easier. So let's just do the rest of them. Now you should be able to do this without needing a straight edge. The score that's been lasered in should be enough to guide the knife if you're careful. I'm not going to do the top or bottom ones. I think they'll be fine as they are. But the first thing we need to do is these side pieces here and here. We need to fold round on each other and then stick down the other side. So what I'm going to do now, I've got them folded. Actually, before I do that, let's just fold the other scores that we've got. There we go, and then we can open it all out again. So these scores here, if we actually just add some glue to the inside of one of these sides, and then we'll fold over and just add that glue to the opposite side, like so. And we'll let it open up a bit. Let the glue dry. Then we'll add some more to the other side and do exactly the same. go. So we'll leave the glue to set on that, and whilst that is doing what it needs to do, we shall take a P26 and a P27 from our plastics sheet for the BYPE. P26, P27. There we go. And we literally stick these two parts together like so. But before we do, we've got a couple of scores that we need to just fold out. So these fold outwards rather than inwards on the score, like so. And they create a little, well, half a platform that will attach to the wing, the lower wing and the upper wing. So, and then you've also got this little spike that comes out, and those go through the wing itself, so you can position the strut accurately. So we'll do exactly the same on this side too. Like so. And so the only parts we need to glue are this part here, and obviously the tips of our spikes as well. You can use the foam to foam for this. It seems to work very well on the plastics. And because we're doubling up on the plastics, it actually provides a little more rigidity to the structure, but we still want it to remain slightly flexible, so that it's forgiving and doesn't contribute to any breakages on the aircraft during a well, let's just say a complicated landing. So pop that to one side. We can do the other one now. There we go. Right, let's attach these fold over parts. I'm actually just going to use my ball tool to add some more pressure. Like so. be quite brutal with this material. It's very tough. So we now fold over to create this sort of little triangular structure, like so. And we can, the top flaps we flap out, like so, leaving our little spike in the middle. And these we can flap out slightly. These are going to sit on the top of the fuselage. And then our little shaped spikes there, we can turn inwards slightly, and these are going to go through the slot that we've created in front of the cockpit. So the other thing we can do here is just add a little glue between the two parts here, and specifically on the gluing the spike together. We'll just bring those together to deposit some glue between them, and then we'll let them fall apart. Oh, not run away. And let that glue set, and then we'll bring that part together. So whilst that's drying, we can turn our attentions to the connecting rods for the aileron. So this is both of them are P30, and they've both got double scores running down the center there and there. And I'm just going to make sure that the scores are loose enough that we can bend these along the score line relatively easily. Certainly don't want to cut through all the way here. Now the reason that they are double scored, so that they will form a triangular section which provides much more stiffness than if they are just doubled up. And obviously when controlling the top aileron with the lower aileron, you need the link to be as stiff as possible. There we go. Right, let's remove one of them. See how we've done. So you see I kept them in the sheet while I did that. Just makes it easier because they're very long and thin parts. So should be able to fold both of those over on each other like so, and then they should meet at the essentially what will be their trailing edge without too much hassle. So we need to glue that trailing edge together so they form that triangle. We'll just take them apart a little, and then we'll run a bead of glue down the trailing edge. There we go. Then we'll bring those two edges together to transfer that glue across, or some of the glue anyway. And then we'll let it open up again, and we'll wait for the glue to dry on that. We'll do exactly the same with the other one. go, run the bead down. And bring those edges together. There we go. Let that to set. Okay, in the meantime, this should be ready for attaching. There we go. Let's push the top together like so. Now, let's just do a quick test fit on our fuselage. So we should be able to line up our little prongs. There we go, like so. They fit. I'm not going to push them all the way through at the moment. I'm just going to let them sit where they are, perfect position, and just check everything. I'm going to just quickly shape the front there, give the angles there a little more. So this bottom part here was bulging out slightly, so I'd rather it was a little more concave, just so it stays out of the way of the hatch. But once I'm happy that that's all fitting nicely, then we'll add the glue. In fact, I'll take the hatch off in the meantime. We'll add some glue. So I'm adding a little to the spike, so it takes some through when it goes through, and obviously onto the little patches as well at the side. And then we can go for it. There we go. One spike in. They're supposed to be quite stiff going in. This one's being a little more pesky. There we go. A little bit of brute force and ignorance. So what we want is for this to now nicely sit on the top of the fuselage and create a nice stable platform there. For added strength, I may actually just pop a little of the CA into the join, just a dribble. There we go. Make sure that draws down to where it's needed. And then we will just leave that to harden up. Pop the hatch back on now. Probably didn't need to take it off in the first place, but there we go. Our cabane strut is now in place, centre fuselage. Right, now to attach the interplane struts, and quite simply there is a little cutout in the wing there, and you've got your spike. It's the white part that sits onto the top of the lower wing. So once again we can just test fit that. Make sure the spike goes through. Just open it up a little as well if you need to. And that just sits down onto the wing, and the rear of the strut should come in level with the aileron, or certainly the wing cutout for the aileron. So let's add some glue to that and pop that in place. And then we can just let that sit and set. We can turn our attention to the other side. Make sure our attachment point's nice and flat, or slightly beyond flat. Check positioning. Let's just open that up slightly. Okay, add some more glue. And on we go. What I'm doing now is just checking that the struts are actually not twisted at all. They are actually facing directly forward. It can be quite deceiving with the striping and the checkering on the wings. But I think we're there. Good. So we have the struts on. And now let us turn our attention to the connector rods. So we could now push these together to form that triangle. Let's use our tools to make sure they stay stuck together. one done. Well, glue doesn't seem to want to stick this end for some reason. It's very peculiar. Maybe it just hasn't dried enough yet to be a decent contact adhesive. Still, seems to be holding now. Maybe it just needed that added pressure. Give it a proper squeeze. Roll off some of that excess glue. Seems to be quite a bit on this one. Probably brought it together too soon. Glue hadn't dried properly. Messy. Oh well. Well, at least you can see this build is warts and all. Right, anyway, let's attach one of these rods. Now, you may have noticed there's a hole in the aileron, and that is indeed for our connector rods to go through, and they actually pivot. You've obviously seen the hole in the end of these parts. You can see. Come on, focus camera. There we go. There's the hole, just there, one each end. And what we do is we grab some of the wire that we have left over, hopefully you have left over, from the control rods, and we are going to cut a small piece from it. And let's just see how much do we need. Let's say 6 mil, around about 6 millimeters. So I'm going to hold the short end and cut. And I've lost the other part. Oh dear me. I've got another bit. So let's try that again. Let's hold both parts. Go. So I've got 2 of those tiny little pieces of metal now, and I'm just going to turn the aircraft over, get our control rod, get one of our little pivot points, and I'm just going to put, so the leading edge of the connecting rod is the wider side of the triangle. So I'm just going to poke that up through. You can probably see there, bottom screen. And then I'm going to put one of these little rods through. I'll try and do it so you can see it. So I'll do it with a pair of tweezers, so they're not too magnetic. So I'm just going to pop that through, like so. And it is slightly magnetic. So we should now have the wire through that hole, poking out either side, equal distance either side, hopefully. And there's a little etched line in the, just trying to find something that's not magnetic. A little etched line in the aileron that sort of shows where you want that pivot point to be. A bit of metal's now come out. So a bit of metal and it's fallen through. So pop that little bit of metal through. Flipping heck. It's the problem with doing these late at night. So let's pop that through there. Scratch that. We're not doing it that way. Doing it a completely different way. What we're going to do is pop a couple of blobs of the glue in the place where those little etches are, in the holes, in the hole in the aileron. Then we're going to pop our connector rod up through with the wider part of it facing forward. Then going to pop our little piece of wire through the hole. We'll elevate it slightly and then bring it down to rest on the glue, so it basically captures it. There we go. We can have a bit of a fiddle around just to make sure it's sitting where it should, like so. And then we should have a sticker, S16. So there are two S16s there and there, and they're a little oblong with rounded corners and a little bit in the middle taken out. And that should sit over the hole. So if you do, you can see I've got the sticker there. I'm just going to remove that central part of it. It's cut out as well. And then we can pop that over the top. Like so. And that hopefully has captured our little bit of wire. And it's now nice and firm, so that if I flip over, we now have our aileron control rod in place, ready to attach the ailerons of the upper wing. Let's do the other one. Let's make this a little more elegant. So here we have the control rod, and here we have the little bit of wire. You can see it's only a little bit, so pop that in a easy to find place. We're going to put a couple of blobs of glue on the channels either side of the hole in the aileron. We'll pop our little control rod up through, like so. Just rest it there for now. Grab our piece of wire, push the control rod up through, push the wire through the control rod at the top, and then bring it down to rest on the glue that we've just placed there. There we go. It's all sitting fairly centrally. Excellent. And then we can grab our S16 . Remove that little central piece. There we go. And then we can put our sticker over the hole. There we go. Everything captured, everything in. So, there we have it. Our Banshee BYPE is now ready for its top wing. Now, if you're building the biplane, you're going to need to build the top wing, which comes as a separate sheet. You can see here, contains a number of parts apart from the wing skin itself, and it also carries with it what would normally be 2mm parts, but obviously this is 1mm, so you have a doubling up of the parts that go and shape the wing. These little formers here, Z16. So anyway, we've also got some plastics as well to strengthen the Z15 parts that run through the wing and give it some stability. And so let's get the we'll start building that internal structure first. So we will get our P28 and P29 from the sheet. And you'll notice that that these parts have been scored down the length of the parts all the way down here. So they're going to fold these. So it's easier to remove these with the part upside down, so you can actually see where the little tags are. So there we go. That's that part done with. Nothing left. So there we have our plastic parts. Now let's grab our Z15s, which there are two of. Now these very long pieces here. And once they're free, they will be relatively delicate till we've shrouded them in the plastic. So once again, easier to see where the cuts are. We turn it over. Go. Just put that to one side for now. Now The first thing we can do is actually glue these two parts together, creating our 2mm wing spar. So let's add some glue to one of the halves. Probably easier to do it whilst it's sitting on the board. Let's clear the nozzle. It's running a bead all the way down, right to the tip. Turn it over. Same the other way. Go. Then I'm just putting the graphics on the inside, not that you should be able to see them through the skin of the wing, but just in case. So just position this one on top of the other. That's simple. The way too, and then I'll just pop that to one side so it can have a chance of going off. Keep it nice and flat. And then we can turn our attention to putting our creases into our plastic parts. As I've explained on the making the lower wings, this is very much needed to create strength in that spar down the wing. It's still slightly flexible, which is a good thing should things go awry in the sky or between sky and ground. So I haven't had to additionally score, as sometimes I suggest you need to. This has obviously been cut quite well, or scored quite well, I should say. So there we go. As you can see, when these go onto the spar, they overlap like so. So if we just get our spar, we'll just put that in place like so. You can see that's interesting. The spar itself is slightly shorter than the plastic. Let's just see which is correct. Well, I'd say that the plastic is that's taking it sort of right to the tip. It's probably somewhere in between, so we'll probably trim that off, but not right to the foam, just between the two. So let's glue this in place. I'm going to do that by adding the glue to the foam spar. So having dry fitted that, I know that this part is going onto this side of the spar. Obviously what we're doing, we're matching up, there's a slope there, that goes up to the top of the spar, and we want to make sure that that is mirrored by the plastic itself. So add some glue all the way down. Then roll it over. I don't have to do the central part there because that'll be taken up by our other plastic. All the way down. And then some down that edge as well. There we go. So I've just put all that glue on the wrong edge, so I'm just going to wipe it off onto there, and then put this into place. So the glue certainly hasn't dried yet, so I'll just leave that to dry to a contact adhesive state, and then we'll bring it together once it's dried off, and we'll apply this side. So same process, except this time we'll get the glue on the right edge. Go. That on. So I'll let that dry off, and whilst that is drying off, we will create from our 4 Z16s. We will create a couple of formers. So I'll just detach those. So with all 4 of these, they should just literally fold up. They've got a score down there. Just make sure that's properly scored, and then they just fold over on each other like so. So it's just a matter of gluing the 2 halves. On each one of them. So there's 4 to do. Just a straightforward process. Need some music in the background really when doing this. Right, I'll do the other two, and I'll come back to you when we... Oh, in fact, no. What I'll do is, while we're here, what we're actually going to achieve here is a 4mm former, or rib, I should call it really, by bringing the two pairs together all as one. So I'll do that. That makes more sense logically to show you. So all four together, like so. Let that dry off. And I'll crack on with the other ones and come back when they're finished. Here we have newly formed 4-up ribs and a nice straight yet slightly flexible spar. So I've pressed all of the plastic down. Now that the glue is dry, it all sits nice and firmly with its foam core. And the next thing we want to do is place our ribs in the slots on the spar. So we can glue these into place. Needs a little clearing again. Really ought to clean the tip of this off. That would help. So we'll just go. Now you'll notice that these ribs aren't purely symmetrical. This side is slightly longer than that side. Now at the moment it doesn't really matter which way we put them as long as they are both the same. So I'm going to put my long side this side, short side the other, like so. There we go. Let that all dry off. So I'll just pop that to one side, and we can now turn our attention to the skin of the wing. We'll just release that. That's Z17. Just release all of that. As you can see, it's got a number of score lines on, and we do have some sanding to do as well. You should, in your kit, you should have a visual on A4 on printed paper. That's that done with. And it should show you where we need to sand as well. But you can see that there are a number of score lines, and obviously we've got the double score around the aileron, where we can remove that to release it, so that we can then articulate it, and it'll eventually be connected to the lower ailerons of the model, and therefore move accordingly. So let's just do that first. So I'm cutting down both lines. If you're fearful of going over the line, then obviously you can use a straight edge to assist and guide. And we need to remove that central piece of material between the two scores, which will give us our little bit of a gap, so that the aileron can actually move when it's attached. Go. So we'll just pop our ailerons over there for now. Now, the areas that we need to score are obviously those that when we fold these over come into contact with the wing on the other side. So all down here and obviously at the tips as well to bring the two halves together like so and reduce that white edge. And also obviously on the central part that will fold over like so, and ditto here as well. So I'll get on with sanding the chamfer in that, which is going to be around about 5mm into there, and obviously bringing that edge to a point there and around the circumference of the wing tips as well. So I'll crack on with that, and when it's ready I'll come back and we'll carry on. So we've now got the top wing sanded down. You can see the edges there that have been sanded. As I said, it's around about 5mm of sanding, and of course around the tips as well. There are also these little scores here, and you just need to make sure that you punch through on those so that on the other side of the wing, you can now see where the strut will actually insert into the wing and secure. So it's important that you punch these through just to make sure that when it comes to putting the wing on, they are obvious. So the struts, as you know, have got a couple of spikes on top that will slot in to those holes there. And the other thing that we need to do is we need to attach the ailerons before we fold the wing over. So we need for that some stickers which form the hinges. We've got S14S and S15S. S, the suffix there is for for starboard, and then we've got S14P and S15P, P for port. So because this is upside down, the starboard's on my left hand side, so let's start with S15S. So once again, these stickers have got little cut-out indents in them to show you where the gap is. So I'll just pop this onto the aileron in the appropriate place. So I'm just lining up this graphic. It may vary on yours just depending on the print and the cut. So that's there, and then let's pop on our S14S. If it'll come free. There we go. And that just sits down, supporting the end of the aileron here, the inner side of the aileron. There we go. So now that can be attached. Let's pick this up so I can eyeball it. There we go. We've got good movement on there. And a little bit of a gap as well, so excellent. So we'll do the same on the other side. S15P. go. And S14P. And once again, put that on. Yeah, super. So secure that in place. So I think we're now ready to put our internals in here. Now you'll notice that the wing has a bit of a rake to it, and at the moment these are straight. So what we're actually going to do is just, well, firstly, let's just check that we've got these correct. So we've got a long side on these ribs and a short side, and I believe, yeah, it's the short side that faces towards the front of the wing. So we want to get the tips of this. In fact, I'm going to just trim these slightly just to tidy them up. I'm just knocking the untidy tips off there. And then on the reverse, I'll do the same. So what we're going to do is glue these ribs in place just here, so that these tips here come up to the second score. There are 3 scores there that allow the whole thing to be folded over. So those will be positioned up towards those, and what you'll also notice is that the center of each of these ribs, well, the center at the top there, should be around about where the cut-ins come to, as they're going to both support the center section and the outer section as well. And then we'll move these spars to sit at the right angle. Now, one thing that this has highlighted to me is that I haven't got this the right way up. You'll notice that the slope on the spar here goes up like so, and what we want to do is that underside of the wing will also need to slope up, so we need it around that way. So essentially you've got the plastic covered edge facing or sitting on the underside of the top of the wing, like so. And then these are going to bend around like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is secure these ribs in place, though, because then that will allow us to bend these down to the angle that we need, and these won't move because they'll be stuck in place. So let's just add some glue there and there. We might as well add some along the base there too. I'm just going to position that so that the front of those ribs comes up to that center score, and then I'm going to just move them back so we deposit some glue in the area that we need it, and then pop them forward again. We'll let the glue dry out as it sits at the moment, and bring that together, and then we will position the rest of the spar. So now push the back of the ribs down so that they stick nicely, and then we can think about positioning so that this follow along that fold line on the wing. Now also we just need to trim a little off the edge here, and we can actually angle it too, so it follows the curve. I'm going to snip it off just at the point where I've sanded, so on the inner side. So just like so. You can just bring that up towards the camera there, so you can see that it just stops short of the edge, like that. And we'll do exactly the same on this side too. So just snip that off. There we go. That's all good. So let's just add a little glue down the score line there, which is where we want our spar to sit. Down the other side too. So, and then we'll just position temporarily so we get some glue onto the underside of the spar. So, on this side as well. So I don't really want to let that dry off because I know that it'll position itself along a place we don't want it to be. So I'm just going to hold these in the position I want them to be. That one's staying where it is, but yeah, this one's moving a little. So I'll just hold them in place until the glue holds them. So it doesn't take too long. Go. So whilst those are drying out, we can think about just positioning our center fold over part, like so. Apply a little glue to where it's going to stick. So the spar there, and then half the ribs. Just put a bead across there, and then at the back on that sanded surface. There we go. And what we'll do is just temporarily fold that over, get some glue on all the surfaces, and then let that dry off. So once that's done, then we can think about doing the outer wings, or the wings themselves rather than the center part, and go from there. Right, let's get that center part folded. And keep it obviously as straight as possible. That should all stick down straight away, like so. And then I'm going to bring these wings down, and you should get the back edge there should sit right along the edge where the ailerons are. So and then you should get a match up of the edges as well, there or thereabouts, and you can play with that as it's drying. So we just need to add the glue, once again down the edge of the rib, the other side this time. We put some all the way down the spar, like so, and then all along the sanded edge, so, and around the tip too. I'm going to put some on this side as well on the tip. Go. And before it gets too dry, we'll fold over. Go. And just let that open out and dry off. And then we can do the same on the other side too. Excellent. Go. So let that dry off, and then we can pretty much complete the wing, I think. Well, the moment of truth has arrived. So all the way down the back edge there, that's sitting nicely on the line of the leading edge of the aileron. Just leave the tip for now. We'll go and do the other side. So once again, we'll take it to the spar, like so, and then down on that trailing edge, once again meeting up nicely with the aileron there. Now we can use our little ball tool here just gently to press our foam into place. Let's check if we've got any twists in there, or we've got a little bit of glue on there, but everything else looks absolutely fantastic. Just bring that leading edge down a bit, sitting a little bit high. Trying to get the wing as symmetrical as possible. It's looking better. So because obviously we've had that flat on the build board, the top of the wing slightly flatter than the underside. So I'm just bringing that the leading edge down so that we've got as much bend on top as we have below. There we go. And then we can finish with the pushing the tips of the wing together, like so, and on this side too. And then to finish off, we can actually go for the smaller ball and get more of an angle on the foam. A little bit of beading going on with the glue, that's fine. Just pushing that all together. Do the same on this side too. So that all seems to have worked nicely. Seems to be just eyeballing from the front. Yep, so that's nice, pretty straight, flat wing now. Excellent. Right. So next step is to get it onto the aircraft.